18 months ago, Evan Ferguson was seen as the man that would bring an end to Ireland's misery and pain, years of failing to qualify for major tournaments. The young man from Meath came up through St Kevin's, moved on to Bohemians, and then made a name for himself at Brighton by scoring so many goals at such a young age in the Premier League. He was such a highly thought of talent. His stocks were at an all-time high. There was so many rumours linking him to big clubs for big fees, but then in March of 2024, it all came crumbling down. Despite coming on as their substitute and only playing 7 minutes, Ferguson would tear his cruciate ligament against Liverpool and miss several months of football. When he returned from injury, Brighton had a new manager who clearly wasn't a fan because Ferguson got limited opportunities. Ferguson decided to take a step away and join West Ham on loan in January, but it was a similar story. Limited opportunities, and when he did get the chance, he failed to impress. And now we're up to present day where Ferguson's future is unclear, until a path back to the top emerged: Gian Piero Gasperini and AS Roma. Evan Ferguson is set to join AS Roma on a season-long loan with an option to buy, and in this video I'm going to explain why moving to Serie A and playing under Gasperini is the perfect move. First off, let's remind ourselves of what kind of player Evan Ferguson is. He's the profile of the classic number 9, 6'2", powerful in the air, a fox in the box. But certainly his best attribute is his movement and positioning. He's able to find space in the box where he's able to get an opportunity off, and he's an incredibly clinical player. That's why all 5 of his goals from Ireland have come within 6 yards, and so have the majority of his club goals. So now that we've got the type of striker Ferguson is, let's take a look at the type of striker Gasperini likes. So in theory, last season, on first look, Atalanta's formation is a 3-4-2-1. And while technically it can be, that's not really the case. Atalanta are sort of the counter to modern football in the case that they do the opposite of what Pep Guardiola's side would do. But whilst Guardiola's Man City will like to keep their build-up play narrow so they can create space on the wing, Gasperini will have his 2 central midfielders drop into the back line and sort of create a 5-5 formation with the fullbacks pushing up. There's no midfield, and in theory that sounds absolutely stupid, but it's actually quite effective. Because let's say the goalkeeper has the ball and he plays it to one of his central midfielders that are acting as a centre-back, let's say Dybala or Ederson. How is the opposition supposed to press that? Because the winger is already occupied, so it brings up a central midfielder, it brings up the other central midfielder, and then you sort of have the opposition doing the same formation as you, creating space inside. Opposed to the modern philosophy of creating the space on the outside, Gasperini wants it in the inside, where he can feed someone like Dybala or Lookman, and those 3 forward players have great link-up play and they can quickly get something off, and that's how they've become such a great counter-attacking team. It's also worth mentioning that last season, before Scamacca got injured, someone who is bigger and taller, they weren't afraid to go direct either, something that could play a part with Evan Ferguson. The 5-5 formation isn't just on the counter-attack, it's also in their build-up play, and it actually works really effectively. Because the press isn't going to be as aggressive this far up the pitch, they're allowed a little bit more time on the ball and it allowed some space to carry it. Now initially you would think it would be a central midfielder who would in theory be better on the ball, but no, actually it tends to be the centre back who tends to carry the ball, and you find someone like Dybala or Retegui who would be in this position, who gets the ball there. Maybe this player makes a run, this player stays wide, so there's 2 options there for a quick move where someone like Lookman or someone like Scamacca or someone like Retegui can get in the box and score a very simple goal. But it's well worked, it's well thought of, and it's very hard to stop. This goes both ways in the sense that they can go down the left as well, they can carry it, they can find an Adamel Lookman who will come into that space because there is so much space on the inside. And then he has the wide option of whoever his left back may be, but also the centre back will come forward. It's really hard to stop. It's going to require a lot of work from the winger, who's going to have to stay up forward to not allow as much space with the player on the ball in the initial sense, but he also has to be quick enough to get back here, or does he follow this player? It's a very confusing thing, and with Atalanta being so quick, it's so hard to deal with. And even if that player is quick and he's caught on to it really well, they don't mind just playing it backwards or carrying it back and retaining the ball and going again with something similar. Especially further up the pitch and maybe not so much with the counter-attacking method, this really suits Evan Ferguson, who can be this player here, or he can even be the Adamela Lookman or the Dybala, because his hold-up play is really good. His link-up play is really good, so he would suit this very well. But Ferguson's a smart player, and under Gasperini, who is so good at developing strikers, I think this could work really well. I genuinely think there is few managers in world football that are better suited to take Evan Ferguson under their wing. Let's just take a look at some of the strikers Gasperini has brought through. The 4 strikers I've picked out are Zapata, Scamacca, Retegui and Rasmus Højlund. 4 strikers managed by Gasperini and all got better under him. Let's start off with Matteo Retegui, who's the least similar to Ferguson. The only qualities they share are really good movement in the box, and they could both be described as poachers. But Retegui's a player that would be fair to say is better outside the box. He definitely has a better range of shooting. Then on to Rasmus Højlund, who's another young, tall striker, both 6'2". Whilst Højlund hasn't been that successful at Man United, decisive when he was at Atalanta. Gasperini did get the best out of him. The key difference between them is probably that Ferguson is less of a runner than Højlund is. He's more of your classic number 9. Then on to Scamacca, another player who had a frustrating time at West Ham. Also a tall physical striker. He stands at 6'5". He's really good in the air. I mean, I think Scamacca is criminally underrated. Very unlucky with the injuries. Been out for I think a year now. But the key difference is I think Scamacca is more technical and flashier. He takes more long range shots and his positioning isn't great because he can drift wide, which is a good thing and a bad thing depending on what you want from a striker. And then the most similar I would say is by far and away Duvan Zapata, a big powerful striker who bullies defenders, excellent at holding up on the ball, laying it off, gets the most of his goals in the box. The only difference I would say is Zapata is faster and he's someone that you play through, while Ferguson is you play to, who will hold on to the ball instead of running after it. So now Gasperini is at Roma. It's a new challenge and he has new forwards at his disposal. So how is he going to use them? I honestly think the 3 forwards he's going to use are Evan Ferguson, Paulo Dybala and Artem Dovbyk. We have no reference with Roma, so again I'm going to go back to Atalanta, but you asked me last season what would I define De Ketelaere and Matteo Retegui as. I would tell you they're both strikers, and last season they both played as strikers, but they also both played as a sort of inside forward. Your position under Gasperini isn't definitive, and I think Ferguson and Dovbyk can interchange either being an inside forward or a striker. I think both would suit that for different reasons. Whilst further up the pitch and whilst you have more of the ball, I think that would suit Ferguson a lot more, but then on the counter-attack I think that suits Dovbyk more to be the inside forward. Then you have the third attacking player who is more of a creative outlet, he's better technically, he's probably the best player of the lot, Adamila Lukman or Paulo Dybala. People are saying Evan Ferguson isn't going to play at Roma, that's why it's a bad move, but I disagree. I think Atalanta's system last season suggests that Evan Ferguson, Dovbyk and Dybala will be the 3 forward players, and with Gasperini's track record of developing players, Ferguson is only going to get better and we're going to see him reach the highs that I think a lot of us are disappointed he hasn't reached yet. I'm forever an optimist. I think Evan Ferguson is going to be extremely successful at Roma and I think they're going to end up triggering that option to buy. It's an incredible move for him. I don't know why there's any form of negativity. He's going to be playing football for one of the biggest clubs in Italian football history, but in the end we'll just have to wait 12 months to see whether or not this was the move that ignited Evan Ferguson's career.